Praise the Lord, my brothers and sisters. This is Elder Adrian Heyman. Sorry that bump was hit the bottom of the table. So if you heard a little thump, that was me. My apologies. We've been doing a series on essentially dealing with politics, but essentially trying to give a little guide, not a all-inclusive guide, but somewhat of a guide as to essentially making your decision as whether you vote for left or right, depending upon your leanings. Some people will vote Democrat, some will vote Republican. Of course, some will vote independent. But usually it's the first two, just because that's what people are used to doing. And what I have been trying to do is give a guide as to why people would vote such a way. Or, so I start off with what makes a person want to vote for the other side because of what they see on the other, on the one side. And I want to stress this. I want to stress that whatever you choose, that's your choice. No one has the right to override your choice. Now, you can always make a choice and you feel like, I didn't make the right choice. You have a right to do that. Now, it may be kind of late. I understand that. Other people may get upset if they know what you chose, but that's still your choice. That's why we do secret ballots and not, hey, everybody, this is who I voted for. Now, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But there's a reason why we do secret ballots, so that no one's intimidated by the rhetoric or threats from one side or the other. So, last time we dealt with people voting for the right because of the preponderance of atheists and agnostics. I'm talking about Christians. I'm not talking about people that are just, plain human beings, but I'm talking about people who are considered saints of God or call themselves saints of God and why they vote a certain way. And because of that, essentially, because, of course, if you believe in God, then many people say, well, why are you voting for a side that doesn't even care for God in the first place? And that's a valid point. But let me also do a counterpoint, which is what I'm going to do right now. For those on the right, why people end up voting left. I mean, again, I'm not talking about rank and file. I'm talking about those who are considered Christian, saints of God, whatever you would call yourself. Many people, when they see the people who vote on the right side, and this is where it becomes a very personal thing, and really we have to do a much better job as saints of God. The reason why I say this is because there are those who, no matter what we have shown earlier about, well, gays vote this way and atheists vote this way, so that's why I'm voting on the right. But there's a reason why there are Christians who adamantly support left-wing candidates. Not that they're socialists, not that they're communists, not that they're bisexual, asexual, transsexual, or whatever. And not because they're atheists, but because they look at the right side and they see those who supposedly are Christian. The reason why I say supposedly, and I'm not, and I usually say I don't want to cast aspersions on those who consider themselves Christians, but the Bible does say, by their fruits you shall know them. Which means that essentially if you say that you're saved, but your actions clearly demonstrate a different thing, then what are you to assume? And I understand we talk about the judge not thing. And I think I spoke something about that earlier, about judging not. That when it talks about judging, the Bible concept of judging usually means sentencing. So if you're judging someone, you're already condemning them, or you're already putting them up in heaven, or you're condemning them to hell. You're not considering the facts. You're not weighing motives. You're not looking at the evidence one side versus the other side. You've already went through that. So yes, we're not supposed to essentially, and again, he was talking to those who were around. No one was saved. Nobody was saved when Jesus said this. We have to understand that too. The context when he said this. Nobody was saved. The church hadn't started. So we talk about judge not, judge not, judge not. You're even talking about a different dispensation. What Christ was trying to say was that we do not have any hell or heaven to put people in. God does that, not us. But he also said, remember, as I said before, by their fruits you shall know them. He also was the one who called the Pharisees and scribes hypocrites, very religious group, head of the worship at the temple. But they were hypocrites because they supposedly stood up for the law and didn't do anything that the law had required. In fact, they made the law of none effect. And even said that they, in one instance, they would compass land and sea to make one proselyte or one person to convert to their way. And when they do that, they make them more the child of hell than themselves. That, to me, is a damning description. And that's what Christ said. So we're talking about, essentially, those who consider themselves children of God, those who consider themselves people of the Most High, those that consider themselves King's kids. Now, you can say those things and live it, and I have no problem with you at all. None whatsoever, because that you have proven yourself to show that your words match your actions. I'm also not talking about those who may have fallen once or twice, but their heart is about being with Christ. So they try to make amends, or they try to live as much as they can. And when they make a mistake, they come back and ask for forgiveness. I'm not talking about those people. Because as much as we want to say that we shouldn't sin and don't sin, people do sin. Saints of God, sometimes they sin. But we don't assign them to outer darkness where there should be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What we do is that we, as Jesus did, we provide a way to come back. We provide a way of forgiveness. But no, I'm talking about those who say one thing, are smug in their assertions, who think they're better than everybody else, who revel in the name of God, but their lives show a quite different thing, or they purport to be children of the Most High, but then they're mean, they're nasty, they're hateful, their attitude is anything but a child of God. But they represent themselves as holy. And then they take it as a badge of honor in terms of, now, yes, we can do that, but there's a way to do it while staying humble. I'm honored to be considered a child of God, but I'm humble about it. I know it wasn't because of my own goodness, but because of the grace of God that he has shed upon me. This is not a birthright, so to speak, that because I am who I am, my mother, my father, my people I'm with, and so it's bequeathed to me. No, you're not. In other words, there are many people who are Christian who end up voting on the left because the right side shows hypocrisy. Am I saying everyone? No. I'm not saying everyone that votes on the right is a hypocrite. No. There are many who sincerely vote right because that's what they feel is correct to do. And that's okay. But I'm also showing a picture as to why many of those who are saints of God vote on the left. And part of it is due to history. Historically, those on the right have done some heinous things, done some horrific things, done a lot of injustice to others. Yet they pontificate themselves. They make themselves feel as though, I'm God's child. And so there are those, wait a minute, I don't have the same attributes as you. I'm not in the same culture as you. I don't speak the same way as you. But at the same time, I really follow the word of God. I'm humble about it. But you're not humble. And you're voting this way. And you're not apologizing for it. So I'm going to vote this way. Now, because of that, they're pilloried, they're made fun of, their salvation is questioned. When remember, what I said at the beginning of me going back and forth with the various topics I'm doing on here, we're voting for secular offices. One may try to put a Christian slant on it. One may try to say, well, this is essentially the children of God versus the forces of evil. But it's not as easily explained as that. Because again, you're not voting them to the bishopric. You're not voting them to be a presiding prelate, so to speak. I belong to the Pentecostal Assemblies of the world, and there's a head. That's the head bishop or overseer, and he's called a presiding prelate. Then, yes, you look at the person's life, and of course, you make your decisions. But those who vote in national elections, state elections, local elections, you're not voting for that type of person. You're voting for someone to lead a secular country. And I must insist one more time to tell you that even though there are mentions of God sprinkled throughout. Like, for instance, we say one nation under God when we say the Pledge of Allegiance. But I have to remember this too. The phrase under God was not in the original Pledge of Allegiance. Some may not think that way, but it wasn't. It was added to try to give a veneer of Christianity to this nation. But once more, we're voting for secular offices. And so therefore, if you vote for a governor, if you vote for a president, if you vote for a congressperson, then you may use your faith or belief to help you determine what to vote for. But you're not voting for a theocracy. Remember that. So, whether you vote left side or right side, it's totally up to you. But your vote does not Christianize, so to speak. I made a new word, Christianize, or make Christian the nation. Because the people that are being elected, they may believe in the Christian faith, but they are serving secular purposes. So, may God bless you. May He keep you. And one thing I implore you to not do, don't be a hypocrite and expect people to then follow what you have to say. Let that sink in. God bless you. Take care of yourselves.